All right. So I'm going to talk to you guys today about the shoulder radiography. I'm going to do two main views that every department's going to do, the AP and the lateral. One is an internal rotation, one is an external rotation. 40-inch SID, 10 by 12, crosswise or landscape is the preferred way, so you get more clavicle on there. Centered 1 inch inferior to coracoid process. Patient's going to be erect against the wall bucky. Ensure the patient is not leaning. This is probably the most common way and the preferred way. The AP, the line between both epicondyles, is going to be parallel to the IR. That lets you have an AP elbow, which gives you the external rotation. Externally rotate the hand till that line is straight with the IR. That's our AP view. Lateral, the line between the epicondyles should be perpendicular to the IR. We're going to internally rotate the hand till it's touching the back of the hip. And that is our lateral view, or the internal rotation is more commonly referred to, in the AP external rotation with the hand out in the epicondyles parallel. Breathing instructions is suspended. That means you're going to stop breathing in, out, doesn't matter, inspiration, expiration. Just tell your patient, hold your breath, don't breathe, don't move, and expose, take the picture. Clinical indications: fractures, dislocations, calcium deposits in the muscles or tendons, or bursal structures. Degenerative processes such as osteoporosis and osteoarthritis can also be seen. So here's our video of the internal and external. She has it in crosswise, she's married. Then you're gonna just put your patient in there to center them, get the right height, that 1 inch inferior to coracoid process. Gives you about a 2 inch above the shoulder top, so you can put your marker up there. Once you're married, do not move it, and then position the hand externally till the epicondyles are parallel to the IR. That's our external rotation. Expose, hold your breath, don't breathe, don't move, expose. Switch out your IR. Internally rotate the hand until it's touching the back of the hip, and that is our internal rotated. Still 1 inch below coracoid. I'd bring her over just a slight bit maybe, but that's pretty good. Everything's centered. You have all around the shoulder on there. Room for your marker above. And that's our two easy AP views: internal, external, AP lateral. Here is our external rotation x-ray. You're going to see, if you can look at this and tell it's a external rotation, you're going to see the greater tubercle on the lateral portion. So this little bump of bone, this is our greater tubercle poking out. This is our little intertubercle groove. The space between the greater tubercle and the lesser tubercle is a groove there. So here's our lesser tubercle. It sits most anterior surface of our shoulder here on the humerus. So the lesser tubercle kind of sits in the middle. Greater tubercle is out in profile. And that's how we can tell it's an external rotation. We're also going to see the space here, the glenoid fossa, but look, it's touching. The humeral head is touching over the scapula here. This is our body of our scapula outlined. So we can't really see inside that joint, so we're going to do a special view. We're going to talk about that on our live and in the lab. Internal versus external. Here we have both of our views that we just talked about, the internal and external rotation. So here's our greater tubercle on the external. Here's the lesser. Everybody's going to be a little different. This is a little different than the last view. Here it is on the bony anatomy. Lesser tubercle here, greater tubercle out towards the lateral side. Now let's look what happens on internal. The internal, the greater tubercle moves into the middle, lesser tubercle moves medial and is sticking out on its side in profile, so like a profile shot. So here we have the shoulder looks more smooth. Here's a little bump, the lesser tubercle. This line inside here, greater tubercle. So that's how you can tell the difference. Somebody in my x-ray class when I was in x-ray school called the external with the bump, and the internal looks like a scoop of ice cream. So if that works for you, the smoother one being the internal one. We also have a little saying for this that we'll talk about in our live. There's two more extra alternative views that we're going to do in the lab. We're going to practice the Y view, which is also in a video here, and we're going to practice the Gracie, which is going to be shown in the lab. I don't have a video for that. That is where we're going to look in the joint. The Y view is going to be used for dislocated shoulders. So let's look at the video of the Y view and I'll talk about it. So with this, it's called a scapular Y. The shoulder is touching the board that's hurt. We are turning them to get the scapula on its side or laterally. In the x-ray, it's going to look like a Y. I will show you how to position the right amount of obliquity. It's going to vary on each patient till you get that scapula straight on, looking down. The humerus stays down. The head of the humerus forms the stick of the Y. Then there's the acromion and coracoid area of the scapula. It's going to look like the V part of the Y on the x-ray. So we're just going to center straight through the middle of the body of the scapula and come out through the head of the humerus. And that's what it looks like. So here's our acromion, the back part of the scapula. And you can kind of see this part over here coming up, not the clavicle, but the coracoid process over here. That's the V part of the Y. Oh, here it is. Sorry, I was tracing the wrong bone. And the scapula, this corner inferior angle, and the humerus coming down. So they kind of move the humerus a little bit out of the body. It should be laying straight over the scapula. This is off of Wiki radiography. Usually they are good x-rays, but this one looks more like not for the shoulder, but for the scapula picture. So I think we just might need to fix that. We'll look at it in our book and talk about it more. We're going to have a shoulder dislocation seen in this. Here's the head of the humerus. It should be right in the middle between that V part of the acromion and the coracoid process. If it's dislocated, it's going to either fall towards the ribs, which is to the front anteriorly, or it's going to fall back here in this space under the acromion, which is a posterior dislocation. So this is the only view that's going to give the doctors which way do they need to push that shoulder or that humerus to go back up into the space where it needs to be if it's dislocated. So a scapular Y view is pretty common. Gracie view is another alternative we'll talk about tomorrow and in our lab. So I'm going to stop the screen share. And that's it for now.